What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Panther Tales with your host, Sam. We are continuing the Meet the Opponents series, where last week we made a short stop in Cleveland for our first AFC showdown of the year. And this week we are heading back to Carolina, where we're going to have our first primetime game of the year against the Detroit Lions. This is the biggest stage we've talked about in the series so far. This is the first out of 3 primetime games that we have. And it's the first Sunday night football game we've had in a while. The last one we've had was December 4th, 2016, and a 40-7 loss against Seattle. But our first home primetime game before that was October 25th, 2015 against the Eagles, where we won 27-16. Yes, Detroit did miss the playoffs last year, but this definitely is not a bad team. The Lions made the playoffs 2 years prior to last year, winning the NFC North both of those times. And then in 2025, honestly, they're just in a really brutal division to where every team who's in there could win at any moment. And that's exactly what happened last year, where the Bears won the division. The NFC North was a bloodbath. The Bears over exceeded expectations with first-year head coach Ben Johnson. The Packers annually are good. And then the Vikings, if they had a quarterback, probably would have won the division again last year. So when Panther fans look at this matchup and they see that Detroit missed the playoffs last year, please do not think this is going to be an easy matchup. This is still a Dan Campbell-led team, a team built around toughness, offensive line play, the run game, yards after the catch, and making you match their energy for 4 quarters. And before we dig deep into this, shout out to my cat team brothers, the Lions, Jags, Bengals. We play the Bengals later this year. I have no beef with y'all. We're the cat teams. Love y'all. I really am excited about this matchup with the Lions because I truly believe the Panthers are going to be a good team next year. And this is exactly the type of matchup that you want to see on a Sunday night football game to see how good we actually are. Now let's dig into the history between the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. Detroit historically, before Dan Campbell took over, was always looked at as a bad team, but Dan Campbell completely changed the way the NFL looks at Detroit, where Carolina, we've always been looked at as mediocre, and then more recently very bad and kind of the laughing stock of the NFL. So Detroit and Carolina can sort of relate on that aspect, but Detroit definitely has turned it around over the past couple of years and has the NFL looking completely different towards them. The last time the Carolina Panthers played Detroit, it was in 2023 in Bryce Young's rookie year, where the Lions beat the brakes off of us. We lost 42-24, but turnovers really were the story for that game. We had 3, they had 0. And along with that, when we were playing in 2023, our defense was so bad, was so bad in 2024. So unless we were putting up mega points, we really weren't beating that many teams. The all-time record between the Carolina Panthers and the Detroit Lions is 8-4, so we're on top of that. 2 weeks in a row, Panther fans. 2 weeks in a row, baby. Against the Browns and now the Lions that we hold the all-time record. We're 6-1 at home, which bodes well for us because this is a home Sunday night football game, but we're 2-2 on the road. This is going to be a really important game for Bryce Young, though, because he's not won a primetime game yet in his career. He's 0-3. And not only that, this is going to be his toughest matchup for a primetime game yet. So fair or unfair, Bryce is definitely going to get judged this game. For the Lions, Detroit is used to this stage now. Head coach Dan Campbell, his physical identity, the offensive line, the weapons, the fan base, they have become a national team in a way they had not been in a long time. Carolina is trying to prove we belong in these games again. Detroit is trying to prove last year was just a step back, not the end of what they had been building for the past years. Now let's talk about a couple of players who have played for both teams. First, quarterback Rodney Peete. He spent years with the Lions and then later became Carolina's starter in 2002. Really, he was the last quarterback we had before we found our first franchise quarterback and Jake Delhomme. Cornerback Eric Davis spent time with both teams. He first played for the Panthers and then later played for Detroit. And then a name you might be familiar with, not for being a quarterback, but Frank Reich. He played for both franchises, and he was the last head coach the Carolina Panthers had before Dave Canales took over, which he is entering his third season as our head coach, which is great for stability. But there's no huge name players that have played for both franchises. Let's talk about the Lions in 2025. They came into the year with expectations. Once you start winning, you are not the underdog anymore. Nobody was looking at them as the underdog after winning the NFC North 2 years in a row. And I'd say they were one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl last year, or at least make it there. They still finished with a winning record. Listen to how crazy this is. Having a winning record, they were last in the division. The Bears took a big step. The Packers were still dangerous. The Vikings weren't going away. Detroit was still good, but they didn't do anything to separate themselves from the bunch like they did in years past. That's the danger in playing a division like that compared to a division like the NFC South. Every slip up matters. Every injury gets magnified. Every one scored loss feels massive. By the end, Detroit was just on the wrong side of the playoff picture, especially after how they started the season. I just want to go through the Lions games from last year because at a certain point, they kind of pulled the Carolina Panthers going win-loss. And ultimately, that's kind of what screwed them out of the playoffs. So they lost their first game against the Packers, then beat the brakes off of the Bears, then beat the Ravens, beat the Browns, beat the Bengals. And then after losing to the Chiefs, this is where their whole schedule shifted to where they didn't bounce back with a win. So they lost to the Chiefs, they beat the Bucks. They lost to the Vikings, they beat the Commanders. They lost to the Eagles, they beat the Giants. They lost to the Packers again. Then they beat the Cowboys. And then they lost to the Rams. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Vikings again. And that's ultimately what decided their season. Because even after beating the Lions, it was set for the Packers and the Bears to already make it to the playoffs. And once again, the Lions ended up last in the division, going 9-8. That's brutal. However, when I look at Detroit, I still don't look at a team that lost its identity. I still see a team built around an offensive line. I see a team that wants to run the football. I still see a team that wants to punch you in the mouth, use play action, attack the middle of the field, and rely on its pass rush and physical defense to make you uncomfortable. The record changed, the identity did not. And honestly, as a Panther fan, that's what makes this game scary for us. Detroit knows who they are, how they want to win, and what type of game it wants to drag us into. Whereas I do feel like the Panthers were starting to find their identity at the end of the year. Hopefully, the early portion of the year sets us up for this game to where we know our identity as well. Panther fans, can we match Detroit in this game? Detroit's offseason was just try to get enough pieces to make it back into the playoffs. Their key additions are running back Isaiah Pacheco from the Chiefs, center Cade Mays from the Carolina Panthers. This is one offseason move that I hate that we lost, even though I think we filled it in nicely for the center position. But Cade Mays goes to Lions. Congrats to you, Lions. I feel like he's a good lineman, and you guys will be happy with him. QB Teddy Bridgewater. He's a veteran backup. Panther fans should know about Teddy Bridgewater. He was the QB to come in to replace Cam Newton. So he has been unfairly judged by our fan base because of it. I feel bad for him. I'm sorry, man. I just don't know what the Panthers were thinking. You didn't do anything wrong, bro. It was just wrong place, wrong time, all that shit. They pick up offensive lineman Larry Broom. This is tackle or guard depth for them. And then they got defensive back Roger McCreary, some secondary help. And then they ended it with tight end Tyler Conklin, who's a veteran tight end. He's okay. Should back up Sam Laporta as kind of a pass-catching tight end. Now, their key losses. One is David Montgomery. He went to the Houston Texans, where he should have a pretty big opportunity there. That's a big loss for them. However, at the same time, as long as Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't get hurt, it's not that big of a loss. Because honestly, you want Jahmyr Gibbs on the field more so than not. Like, it's great giving him a break, but I think giving him a break with a player like Pacheco is better than giving him a break with a better back like David Montgomery. So Jameer Gibbs should be on the field even more, even though they got Isaiah Pacheco. They lost linebacker Alex Anzalone. This guy's not anything special, but he's a big time leader for teams, and he does bring a level of toughness that's unmatched for a lot of other linebackers. They lost wide receiver Khalif Raymond, which isn't a huge loss, but they do lose some return ability there. And then offensive tackle Taylor Decker, which was a veteran tackle loss. That changes the offensive line picture a little bit. Guard Graham Glasgow, interior offensive line experience is lost there. Then they lost defensive tackle DJ Reader, who's a big body in the middle of that line. So that hurts a little. Now they added more players in the draft. So for their draft, round 1, pick 17, they get offensive tackle Blake Miller. He was a high start college player and could compete to start early, especially at right tackle for the Lions. Edge rusher Derek Moore, drafted round 2, pick 44. He might not be the main starter right away, but he could be at the same time. Aiden Hutchinson is the main guy, but he might play on the other side of him. Round 4, pick 114, linebacker Jimmy Rolder. Tough, physical, smart, but probably a special teams player while developing. Cornerback Keith Abney II, a developmental corner with a chance to become a future cornerback 3. Round 5, pick 168, wide receiver Kendrick Law. He's a yard after catch type of receiver. Round 6, pick 205, defensive lineman Skylar Gill Howard. He's a late round interior defensive line help. Their last pick, round 7, pick 222, defensive lineman Tyree West. He's probably on the roster bubble or a practice squad player, but they'll use him as depth. From the draft, the 2 players the Panther fans need to know: offensive tackle Blake Miller and edge rusher Derek Moore. They have the best chance of starting or at least playing this year. Now, overall, key Lions Panther fans should know. First is quarterback Jared Goff. Goff isn't the flashiest quarterback in the league, but when the structure is right, he can pick you apart. Ever since Goff was traded from the Rams to the Lions, he has been one of the better pocket passing QBs in the league. When he has time and he's in rhythm, he's a very dangerous quarterback. Running back Jameer Gibbs, the best player on their team, and arguably one of the best backs in the league. He's explosive, he could run it, he could catch it, he's very fast, and he's the player that scares me most on the Lions. But a very, very, very close second is wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's the engine of that offense. He wins with routes, toughness, timing, hands, and yards after the catch. He always seems open. He's a beast. We cannot overlook him. Also, we need to know about wide receiver Jameson Williams. He was Bryce Young's favorite wide receiver to throw it to in college. He has been getting better and better in Detroit. He's a very, very fast player, so can't leave him one-on-one on the outside, or he has a good chance of beating our corners. Tight end Sam Laporta is a major problem as well. He's a big-time tight end. He's not just a safety valve. He's one of the main threats in their passing game, especially against linebackers and safeties. He also scored against us in 2023 in his rookie year. Offensive tackle Penei Sewell. He is just such a fun. He's so good. We probably don't have a good chance of rushing the left side against him. And then last but not least, edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. He is a big time problem as a rusher. He's one of the best rushers in the league. So definitely got to throw some double, triple teams against him. Now it's time to turn it to the big board and look at each individual player, see the projected starters, see the matchups, and kind of look at who kind of has the edge in some positions over others. Okay, moving on to the big board. For QBs, it sucks to say, but right now you probably have to give the edge to Detroit. I love Bryce Young, and this is a really huge opportunity for him. Right now, Jared Goff is the more proven QB. Running back, the edge is definitely Detroit. Jameer Gibbs is just such a beast. He is so good. I'm very, very scared to go up against him, but I'm also at the same time really excited to watch him because I like watching good football players. Wide receiver, it sucks so bad because like T-Mac, usually I'm going to put him over everybody, but I can't put him over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Also, fun fact for anybody who doesn't know why he's called Sun God, Amon-Ra, the Ra part, Ra is the god of sun. So there you go, Sun God. And then also like Jamison Williams against Jalen Coker. I think Jalen Coker's good, but at the same time, Jamison Williams is also really good. And then Isaac Tesla versus Xavier Legette. Tesla didn't have very many opportunities last year, but when he did, he scored touchdowns. I'm excited to see him more so on the offense for them as well. That just brings a bigger piece for them. So wide receiver, got to give the edge to them as well. Now, even though I'm giving the edge to the Lions for most of these, and I more than likely will continue to do that, that does not mean I think we can't win the game. I feel like they have a little bit of better players, but like we can still win the game because we have good players as well. Any given Sunday, baby. Now, tight ends also edge to Detroit. Sam Laporta, his rookie year, showed that the tight end he could be. The last couple of years, he hasn't been used as much, but he is still very capable. And whenever they need him, they could always look for him. He's very reliable. For the line, I think that's pretty even for both, with probably giving a slight edge to Detroit just because they have a dominant player like Penny Sewell on there. When looking at the defensive line, I'm chalking this one up as being pretty much even as well, just like the offensive line. But the thing they have that we don't, or at least we don't know yet that we have, is they have a big time pass rushing, wrecking havoc Aiden Hutchinson on their team, where I truly believe Jalen Phillips will be that for the Carolina Panthers. Now, where it gets interesting is for the cornerbacks. I believe we have better corners than them, especially with the Terry and Arnold news that just broke this week, which I will get to in just a little bit. But they have good corners. I like DJ Reed, especially when he played for the Jets. We just have good corners. JC Horn and Mike Jackson are very, very good players. Like if we get a good little pass rush, I wonder how much we could slow down their very explosive offense. Safety, I'd probably give them the edge in that room. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are good. Trayvon Merrick is very good, but Nick Scott holds us back a little bit there. Ultimately, I think this whole matchup is going to come down to coaching. Dan Campbell, Drew Petzing, and Kelvin Shepard are the three coaches for the Lions. Lions fans, how do you feel about your offensive coordinator, especially after losing Ben Johnson? How did he fare compared? And then our coaching staff with Dave Canales, Brad Idzik, and EJ Evero. That's going to be the ultimate matchup. So yes, the big board favors Detroit, but that does not mean Carolina can't win. It means Carolina has to win the right parts of the game, mainly turnovers. So how can Carolina win this game? First, you have to protect Bryce Young. This is pretty much the whole game plan for me. You can't let Aiden Hutchinson destroy the rhythm of the offense. We have to use chips, quick game, motion, and move in the pocket when needed. We need to use all those things. Number two, slow down the run game. I don't even know if stop's the right word. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get his, but you got to slow it down as much as you can. The only thing that makes me believe we're able to do it is we play Bijan Robinson twice a year, and when we play him, we can somewhat slow him down at times. Number three, we need to tackle in space. Detroit is one of the best teams after the catch or breaking tackles in general. So we got to have form tackling going on this game. We need to get them to the ground when we can and not allowing those huge explosive plays. But once again, with players like Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, it's a tough ask, but this is the NFL, baby. Strap up and get ready to hit somebody. Number four, we have to win the red zone. What that means is scoring more touchdowns rather than settling for field goals. Field goals will only take you so far against a team like the Detroit Lions. And then number five, Bryce needs to take advantage. He needs to look like he belongs. He looked like he belonged in the playoff game last year. I believe as long as he's getting time, he will put up some good stats and have a good game. Now, before I get to my closing statements, I just want to talk about this Tyrion Arnold situation because it just happened this week and it's a big time story. So you can see the headlines there. Tyrion Arnold arrested on kidnapping, armed robbery charges. Lions Corner faces possibility of life in prison. Sheesh. So he was arrested in Florida Wednesday. He's expected to be charged with felonies, including 4 counts of kidnapping and 4 counts of armed robbery, stemming from an incident that occurred in February. The charges Arnold is facing carry a maximum punishment of life in prison. So what happened is, when Arnold was staying at an Airbnb, and him and his group were out of the house, a burglary occurred at the residence. Multiple items were stolen, including $100,000 in cash, an $80,000 necklace. Arnold and his associates eventually called the police and reported more than $250,000 in property losses. Arnold's group hired a private driver during their time at the house, and they believed that the driver was one of several people who played a part in the $250,000 robbery. Authorities eventually cleared the driver, but instead of waiting for the police to investigate the robbery, Arnold and his associates decided to take matters into their own hands. Come on, bruh! Like, take it into your own hands. The group allegedly lured the driver and 2 other men to an apartment where 2 of the victims were jumped, pistol whipped, and held at gunpoint by 2 of Arnold's associates, Linda Hudson II and Christian Williams. A 3rd man eventually made his way into the apartment, and he was also jumped. All 3 had visible injuries. While Arnold was not in the apartment, he was able to view what happened via live stream set up by one of his associates, according to the police. Arnold's crew eventually let the 3 men go, but not before allegedly stealing some of their personal property. The 3 victims, obviously, eventually went to the police, and after investigating, authorities in Florida ended up arresting a total of 7 people, with Arnold being the most recent. Arnold is facing 8 charges because police believe he was the primary conspirator. Among the 6 suspects apprehended before Arnold, 5 were arrested in February and the 6th arrested in March. Police spent 3 more months gathering evidence before deciding to arrest Arnold. The 23-year-old voluntarily turned himself in on Wednesday night. His attorneys released a statement to the Detroit Free Press denying all charges. Tyrion Arnold categorically denies any involvement in the matter, underlying the allegations made against him, and maintains his innocence. There is no credible evidence linking Mr. Arnold to these allegations. Instead, the government appears to be relying on testimony from multiple convicted felons who have admitted their own involvement and may have substantial incentives to shift blame in any effort to lessen their sentence. Mr. Arnold looks forward to his day in court and is confident that the judicial process will lead to his ultimate vindication. The Lions also released a statement on Wednesday night. We are aware of the legal situation involving Tyrion Arnold. We will not comment at this time due to the respect for the ongoing legal process. Given that the maximum punishment Arnold faces is life in prison, there is a real possibility that his NFL career is over if found guilty or even a portion of what he's accused for. The number 24 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Arnold started 22 games for the Lions over the past 2 seasons. Arnold made his first court appearance on Thursday where he was formally charged. The Lions cornerback is being held without bond, which means he'll remain in jail until at least Monday, when his pretrial detention hearing will be held. During that hearing, the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office will request that Arnold remain in jail until the start of his trial. And if that motion is granted, Arnold could be stuck behind bars for several weeks or even months as he awaits for his trials to begin. So, Lion fans, how are you feeling? That would be a pretty big blow to the secondary. So for my final statements, a win over Detroit on Sunday Night Football would be massive, not because it proves Carolina has everything figured out, but because it would show that the Panthers can stand in there with a serious team on a national stage when people are actually watching. And for years, Panther fans have wanted this team to be relevant again, not just technically alive, not just maybe next year, but actually relevant interesting, competitive, worth talking about. Getting a win here would help to make that come true. I definitely respect the hell out of Detroit. Their fans should feel confident going into this game. They have the more proven roster, the more established identity, and more experience on national games. But Panther fans, there's no other game that we should want to be in. We want to know where we stand. Here we go. Panther fans, what matchup scares you the most? Edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson against our offensive line? Detroit's run game? Wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or just the pressure in primetime games? Lions fans, what are Panther fans underrating about this team? And what matchup do you think decides this game? What scares you guys most about our team? The Cat Team brotherhood is real, but for one night, it's going to be on pause. Panthers, Lions, Sunday Night Football. Carolina gets a chance to prove it belongs under the lights. Before I go, I just want to thank LaMelo Ball so much for his 6 years in Charlotte. You brought a different level of basketball here. You were very fun to watch. I will miss you very much. Have fun playing with Ant in Minnesota. I'm sure you'll do great there. Thank you for everything you did for us. New year, new me. Same me. Number one forever. Not from here. La France. Love you. That's going to do it for this episode of Panther Tales. If you enjoyed the breakdown, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Next week would technically be a bye week, but we're not going to stop next week. We're going to just continue going on. We're in week 6. We play the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay tuned, and as always, keep pounding.